Hello, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. And it's great to be with you today. Good Saturday morning to you. What a way to kick off. Well, it depends on when you're watching it, but what a way to spend the day hanging out with us, talking some football, going around the NFL, joined by one of my very best friends in all the world. He is a tremendous human being, a decorated journalist, a highly successful attorney in the Atlanta Buckhead area of Georgia, and just an all around superb human being, the great Jonathan Shop. Hi, Johnny. How are you, bud?
I feel good. We're getting there, aren't we? It's
I
time.
feel good.
Listen, you got to prepare yourselves. The people out there are starting to prepare themselves. They're starting to do the shopping. They're starting to plan their eating and their clothing schedules. And football is a huge part of the coming holiday season. So it is a reality check for some teams. Some of the reality hard. You Raider fans, some of that reality is hard. I know it's been talked about. Of course, Hondo's been on it and y'all saw it. But now let's see who is who is man, who is mouse, who is up, who is down. This is when the NFL truth begins to rise. We talk often about the Thanksgiving time schedule for the NFL. From here, we start to separate pretenders, contenders, and dwellers.
John, I've talked the last 2 days on the podcast about the problem. As you know, because you're a Michigan State graduate, Michigan State's one of the best agricultural schools in America. And a friend of mine who works in West Michigan in the beautiful apple orchards there, once I was touring one the orchard at the time he worked with that did massive amounts of apples. And I walked over. We were at a particular tree. I don't know why we walked to this tree, but I grabbed an apple and I said, "Hmm, that doesn't taste sweet. I thought it would be sweet." And he went on and told me, "It's a tree I'm monitoring. That's why I walked over here." And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." He goes, "That's okay." He said, "The problem is a lot of people don't understand it's not the fruit that's bad when a tree, it's the root." And he goes, and in my line of work, I think it's called botany, but if it's not, I'm just an idiot. I apologize. But he goes, in my line of work, he goes, you have to understand the fruit is only reflective of the root. And he goes, a lot of people would say, oh, if the fruit's bad, it's just a bad apple, go get another. He goes, but the problem is when there's bad apples, you got to start looking at the tree's roots and determine, he goes, because that's where you fix the apples. I'm going somewhere with this. Mac Brown made a told a story once that has resonated with me immensely. The legendary college coach, he talked about every time he looked at taking a job, he didn't look at where they had been the last 3 or 4 years. He said he took 20 years because that tells you really what a program is. And there's a reason I'm going somewhere with this. Since I've been covering the Raiders, people wanted Gruden fired, Bisaccia fired, um, uh, Josh McDaniels fired, Antonio Pierce fired. Now they want Pete Carroll fired. They wanted Mike Mayock fired. They wanted um, Champ fired. They wanted Tom Telesco fired. They want um, uh, John Spytek fired. And the problem is when you take those two scenarios I just told you, the fruit representative of the root, and you look at where they've been over the last 20 years, the Raiders have to fix their systemic problems. And what I mean by that, in my opinion, and I'd love yours because you're a brilliant legal analyst, you're just very analytical, and I love that about you, is this isn't a slam on Mark Davis. He inherited a franchise that he was never trained how to run. But the problem is it's a knee-jerk reaction to let's always fire everybody. Well, the fans don't like this guy. Let's get rid of this guy. At some point, they're going to have to set their face like a flint and they're going to have to stick to something because the definition of uh,
Insanity.
stupidity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. John, we've talked about it for 2 days. This is the third day. Where am I wrong here? Because it's, I mean, at some point, okay, You can't just keep firing everybody and expect that at some point it's going to work.
No, you definitely can't. And I can understand Raider fan in terms of frustration because there is still
Totally get it.
huge part of the fan base that says, hey, if that snow call had gone another way, we might have had a chance at a dynasty. We might have become a superpower. And the NFL doesn't like us, and they've kept us down, and they've screwed us ever since. Okay, you got to take that and put that aside. Are you screwing yourself by who you've hired, who you've continued to fire, et cetera? Like this revolving door thing. That I think is stopped. Is it going well or going to go easy right off the bat? No, no. I remember when Joe Gibbs came back to the then Redskins, he was not good right away. It took him more than a year to get going, and he reflected back, whoa, there's more of a learning curve to get back than I thought. I'm not saying that's an issue necessarily for Pete Carroll, but there's got to be a little bit of that. There's also the bigger issue that you've got a relatively unstable franchise. It's not been super stable since it got to Las Vegas. Now it appears very stable. Tremendous facilities, tremendous new ownership influence, let's say. With the distraction that your one guy is Tom Brady is on TV, where I don't think he has any business being on TV and an owner. Put that aside. There's going to be a while for this dust to settle. Some of the things that you all are out there critical of are super valid and completely correct. Some of them may be correct, but they're not necessarily right. You've got to let some dust settle. You've got a couple of decent drafts. You need more drafts. You do have a real easy point to criticize saying, where are those young linemen? Well, we've got weeks to play. We know, I think it's time to see them. So I can understand the frustration of the Raider fans. What I am recommending to them, and yeah, there's a number of them everywhere, including here that I talk to on a regular basis. You know, when your wheels are spinning, at some point they're going to catch the ground. It's going to take a second, and then the vehicle's going to go forward. I think you're closer to that than you realize you are, as long as you can keep what you've got going well on the defensive side of the ball. As long as your leader, Max Crosby, is coming the way he comes, and as long as, to me, he's speaking as honestly and straight post game like he is last week, eventually good things are going to happen. There are some critical areas that will surely be addressed between now and the start of next season. We don't know for sure if those are going to work, but they're going to be addressed. And for anybody out there saying, I told you we should have taken Jackson Dart, I know these two guys that were really high on Dart that talk about this stuff every week. Yes, we were, but I don't know that you'd be any further down the road with this football team, win loss to a measurable amount, a circumstantial, a really impactful amount if you had Dart. If you have one or two more wins, what's that going to do? It's not going to do very much. So build it the right way. Trust that Pete Carroll knows more about football than pretty much everybody in the stadium combined. I mean, it'd be a pretty even match, right? There's nobody that knows more, is what I mean to say. There's nobody that knows more about football than Pete Carroll. Trust that he's going to build it right. Swallow hard, get through this year, get through all the flack you're going to hear from your Charger fans, your Niner fans, everybody else. And then listen, I know y'all are resilient. I know Raider fans are resilient. I heard from so many that were so pumped when the draft. It was so pumped with the draft. They're so ready to go, more excited than they've been all year in years. And then poof, refill the balloon. But it does stink. You've got 9+ months to really wait until you get to see it, a new version, and you've got a handful of games left to go. Hope that nobody gets hurt. Hope that you play young linemen and find out what they can do. And maybe, I'm not saying Aiden O'Connell is a guy that needs to be a starter at the NFL level, but I hope that the Raiders turn over all the rocks, get all the lineup combinations, get everybody in so they have no question about what they have on their roster, and they can identify and prioritize, this is what we need when we turn that page very quickly the last day of the season.
John, let's turn to something that does make the Raider Nation happy, and that's the demise of Kansas City. And really, their path starts with starting to do the small things. I'd love your thoughts on the Chiefs.
Listen, we both like the Chiefs a lot. I had them winning a Super Bowl or making a Super Bowl, right?
Mhm.
They're all of a sudden in trouble of making the playoffs. And this is the feeling that a lot of us have, and I would agree. It feels like if the Chiefs make the playoffs, they're going to be just fine. If they don't make the playoffs, call me crazy. You can't win the Super Bowl if you're not in the playoffs, right? Not to sound like Trent Dilfer, but you can't lose and still win games in the playoffs. Andy Reid says, hey, season's not lost, but we have to clean up things now. He's talking about the small things. He's saying, hey, we're not as negative as the outside world. I can believe that completely. There should be nobody more confident than the Chiefs in the Chiefs' ability. I think that is very safe to say. We know that they've gotten guys that are coming back healthy. We know Josh Simmons is back now as well. But the problem with the Chiefs is they're running out of L's, if you will. They can't lose a lot more games the rest of the year. Andy Reid is arguably and very arguably the best coach in the history of the NFL to date. Above Parcells, above Gibbs, above Belichick, above uh, anywhere you want to go, as far back as you want to go. Landry, Hallis, Brown, etc. He's arguably the best of all time. Arguably the best of all time, and that's an argument I would like to make. He's saying we've got to do the small things to get right, and you can't disagree with him. And I can tell you, as we may say, he's the best coach of all time. We may also agree that Sean McVay is the best coach of the moment relative to raising the play of his team. What I don't think we can quantify is how much confidence the Chiefs have in Andy Reid. Is there ever an opportunity really to think that we don't know if the coach has got us going in the right direction? No. You combine that with Pat Mahomes, you combine that with him talking about, I think, very intentionally, a lot of this is on me. I think still the best football for the Chiefs is ahead. All they have to do is get in the dance. Once they get in the dance, it's not that that switch is going to be flipped. They're starting to flip the switch now. They don't have a choice. This is a fascinating story that we will watch. And Raider fans, if you want to point and laugh, go right ahead. But understand that it may or may not work from here relative to the Chiefs. Everybody wants to see, can they pull this thing around? Or are they going to just be starting to write about the Chiefs' demise as you saw the media starting to dance on the keyboard this week?
I agree. All right, let's turn to Philly, a team that was in the Super Bowl like Kansas City last year. They're starting to figure out fourth down decisions, or aren't
How
they?
about that? Really interesting article this week about Nick Sirianni, who is, I think, an over-criticized coach, much as Jalen Hurts. I'm going to stop there for 1 second on the Jalen Hurts thing because I saw our man Dan Orlovsky talking about this, and he's dead right. What's the number one stat for quarterbacks? Exactly. Wins and losses. You start there. When you look at Jalen Hurts' wins and losses record, that is number one, bigger than all the other stats in the building. So get off Jalen Hurts. Now, Nick Sirianni's talking about what he's doing when he's evaluating whether to call fourth down, whether to go for it or not. He says the analytics can say what it wants, but if you don't have faith in the players to go execute, that doesn't give you a lot of confidence. So then what play do you have? The players that you have, and then you do it. Analytics is a piece of the puzzle. All these different things are a piece of the puzzle. Your past success, the league studies that you do, all these things play into that. I love our process. What he's saying is, what I think it makes the most sense is using analytics to support the decision or the feel that you get, or using it to say, hey, maybe we ought to go the other way. I don't know why there's so much criticism of Nick Sirianni other than he's in a high profile job, one of the larger fan bases in terms of volume, and he's had a mix of success and struggle. And to be honest with you, as the weeks go on, sometimes we wonder if the struggle is more of some of the chemistry and some of the personalities they have in the mix there. It's very interesting to hear a coach talk about his decision on fourth down, how they do what they do. And we circle back to what we've talked about here for a while, having clock coordinators that folks like the Rams have, and we know that Antonio Pierce had a guy help him with. This time of year is going to get tighter, as we know. The decisions on fourth down are under more of a microscope. And we could just point to Dan Campbell, with the Lions to kind of help us blow that up. Like that was like, okay, now the fourth down really mattered because we saw what he did. Interesting to hear Sirianni say, hey, It's not like one way, one highway, or the highway this way or that way. Interesting to hear him talk about his process, because one of the most important decisions that he has to make driving a very nicely equipped vehicle is when the Eagles go for it on fourth down or not. Call me crazy. If he makes a fourth down decision that doesn't go the Eagles' way the rest of the year, we're going to be talking about this again.
All right, let's play since I'm here in Vegas. Let's do a three coach parlay. Which current NFL head coach, if any, is most likely to leave for another team, Herm Edwards style?
It's been a while, hasn't it? Has it been a while for the young folks out there that maybe don't remember when Herm Edwards just went from the Jets to the Chiefs? And I don't, a lot of people probably don't even know that Herm Edwards went to the Chiefs. There were some deep ties there, good reasons for it. It didn't maybe work out. We don't have a famous quote from Herm Edwards about playing to win the game like we do when he was with the Jets. Now, if you listened to us before, you know where I'm going with this. Why is Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland? Why would, to me, he's a way better coach than that franchise. He ought to be looking to get out of there. Dave Canales is a guy that I've been on for a little while now, is impressing me beyond belief because he's got the Panthers winning. The Panthers with that new owner that is an extraordinary record in the financial world and not a good record as an owner yet. And now we're even seeing some heat on Glennon in Phoenix. To me, he looks like a pretty good coach. You've got other guys talking about LaFleur. You've got people that want to dream about McVay all the time. Obviously, there should be an opening in Atlanta, which is where some of those names come up. So I ask you, who is most likely to move, if any? And I stake my pole in the ground for Kevin Stefanski, whether it's Giants or anywhere else. I think this guy is tremendous. I think he's the most likely coach, if any, to move to another team.
I agree. Uh, so let me go. This parlays into something I've been talking to you about. My source, uh, I talked with my source about John Harbaugh again today. And as you know, I've been telling everyone to keep an eye on there that looks like it's heading to a divorce. If they're able to save the season and get in the playoffs and win a game, I don't know that he's going to be gone. If they don't, they could choose to keep him and let the general manager go. But I think John Harbaugh is a name, but I'm going to throw another name out for you. And I just want to throw it out there. A couple of years ago, Sean McVay almost retired, almost pulled a Dick Vermeil. He's a very young guy. What if he wins a Super Bowl this year, gets to a Super Bowl? I mean, he's had a great year. He's a great coach. What if he just says, you know what? I want a different look. I want a different pace. I want a different place. I'm just saying this. I know he loves Les Snead. I know he loves the Rams. I'm not implying in any way there is a divide there, because there isn't. And it would be unfair and untruthful. But that's a name, because he flirted with retirement. That's a name I would just keep in the back of your mind. That's a young guy, proven track record. Don't rule him out. What do you think about Sean McVay? That guy would be the hottest commodity to hit the market in forever.
Oh, absolutely. First of all, I would think the possibility of him taking a break. Absolutely. So to me, it looked like a couple years ago, he got to a point where it's like, look, either I'm going to come back and we're going to do some more things the way I want, and I'm going to have some more influence on personnel and some of the people I don't want around, or I'm going to just take a break here. Now, if you write a script where Sean McVay and the Rams win the Super Bowl and Matt Stafford absolutely walks off to a fantastic retirement, yeah, it'd be a perfect time to take a break. Now, as far as how many other of the teams, I mean, for God's sake, out of the 32 teams, could there be more than, like, could there be even four that wouldn't want Sean McVay? I'll give you two crazy examples because we're dreaming in dream world. Mike Tomlin moves on. Sean McVay, of course you'd want Sean McVay. The Ravens, Sean McVay, yeah. The Giants, Sean McVay. How about right up here? Sean McVay is from the city of Atlanta. You don't think this comes up all the time? People's dream that he was going to retire, go to TV, and then come back here and save the. Of course, absolutely. Sean McVay writes his own ticket without any question. It would be fascinating to see because this thing is such a pressure cooker now. The idea that somebody's going to coach even like John Harbaugh is insane. But let me ask you one thing about the John Harbaugh situation. I'm not trying to point fingers, but the defensive coordinator for the Ravens, is that guy or any of his other staff guys, are they possibly a situation where he reshuffles the staff also if he stays there?
Interesting. We're going to find out. Here's the other thing. The Rams don't want to lose Sean, obviously, but if Matthew goes, and I think there's a good chance if they win it all, he does go. And in fact, I would be shocked if he returned. Um, I think Sean could sit down with Les Snead and say, listen, I love you. I have no hard feelings. I'm not going to get the grace here that it's going to take to rebuild because that's the modern NFL. I just want a new challenge. And let me go somewhere and let them throw you a first round draft pick for having me and give me a shot to go somewhere else. You pick up a first round draft pick. If not, I'll go retire till my contract's over and go somewhere. But at least this way you get something and we part friends. I just think that's a name. I'm not dropping that name for no reason. I
Of
have
course
talked
not.
to I've talked to somebody in the NFL, not Rams related, not Sean or Les Snead, no connection to the Rams. Well, that's not actually true, but there is a little connection, and it's not been discussed. But they threw it out there to me. I thought that was very interesting. All right, John. Every single week to all of our new readers, I mean our new watchers, John and I pick the four most interesting games, and any we disagree on, we keep track of. For the year, it is 8, 1, and 2. Wow, that blows my mind because John is so much smarter than me. I'm leading, but John, let's fire away. Let's get to our four games this week and see if I can continue my dominance.
Yeah, let me just say this. I think either last year or the year before, I won the season, so it's not like
You did.
it's not like it doesn't happen. But I think the message is very clear from the Pick'em gods. I am learning how to take the L. I am learning how to lose. Last week again, all these games are close. We had Seahawks. I mean, it's fine. I'm trying the best I can, and I'm also understanding the challenge of those of you out there playing this stuff for money. Okay, what happened to the Colts? We forgot about the Colts already? Nothing. They had a little break. Now they are going to Kansas City. Is it possible that the Indianapolis Colts can practically knock out the Kansas City Chiefs? I say no. I say absolutely not the Chiefs. Not
Yeah.
convincing, but they need to win.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I still believe in the Chiefs, and I'm a believer in the Colts, but not as much of a believer as I am in the Chiefs. So I'm going to ride in the Chiefs, but I will tell you this: if they lose Saturday, I mean, if they lose Sunday, it's going to be brutal.
Is it as simple as saying the obvious that the Chiefs have to they gotta play the odds here. They gotta sell out to stop the run and take their chances with Dan Jones.
100%.
100%. Now, we have talked just now about the Rams. They are hosting Tampa Bay. If you look at your standings, go ahead and pull them up. You will see where some of these featured foursomes come from. This stuff is suddenly remarkably important for the Tampa Bay Bucks. If you look at where they are in the standings, they don't have any wiggle room because right on their tails are those Carolina Panthers. This is a reclamation trip. There's going to be such a nice story about Baker Mayfield rebuilding his career with that little stint with Sean McVay. All of that is true, but how in the world can the Bucks go to the Rams house, much more so this time, given the fact that Tampa's a million miles away and there can't be that many Buck fans. I don't see this going well for the Buccaneers. I like the Rams by more than a touchdown.
I think the Rams roll here by double digits.
Double digits is a lot this time of year, especially in a somewhat desperation game for Tampa. Now, we
And it
just
doesn't
talked
mean
about
that I don't like Tampa. I just love the Rams that much.
I really like Todd Bowles. I like the stability that they have in Tampa. I'm long on the Buccaneers having a chance to play for an NFC championship before 2029, I would say. I think there's a better than 50-50 chance. Dave Canales, Carolina, going to San Francisco. What does that mean? What does that matter? Well, if you're the 49ers and you're in the toughest division in the sport, you got to win every game you can. They've got to win it, right? Carolina really has nothing to lose. The problem is they're going up against a team that cannot afford to lose. And at some point in time, the 49ers luck has to, in terms of health, some of that stuff has to turn around. Incredible job again by Shanahan and Saleh, etc. Health an issue, but we've got to see. You get to pick first here, but I think the same as you.
I'm just going to say this right up front. I think Carolina's improved. I don't think that they're a juggernaut. I think San Francisco, if they were healthy, I think would certainly have a shot. I don't think they're better than the Rams, but I think they would have a shot. Carolina has to win this game to tell me that you are who you look like. I don't think they are. I'm going with San Francisco all day long on this one.
Again, Rams one ahead of the Seahawks, and I think technically two ahead of the 49ers. The reason I say Dave Canales is looking like a really good coach is because I believe he's vastly overachieving. You look at the roster in Carolina, they are going well beyond that so far. It does not carry to San Francisco. The 49ers have to win this. We don't need to rehearse or readdress the curse of Trey Lance or all the 49er stuff, but many people around the sport see a window closing in San Francisco with some of the health concerns. It's like they are really close to the end with some of these. It's got to get better for them. Even out, they win this one. Lastly, is another game. Maybe you wouldn't see it on a radar and say, well, I don't really care about Pittsburgh at Chicago, but I address you with this in mind. The unique.
I'm so glad you picked this game.
That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. Now, listen.
But
I just want to say this, and then I want you to run with it. Folks, you got to pay attention to the NFC North. The wrinkle that is the Packers record because they are 6-3-1 as in a tie. That is a huge deal from here to the end of the season. They are behind the Bears. The Bears have to hold serve, if you will. The tie is going to cause problems at some point. And as we talked about the disbelief of the Ravens early in this year, we're now to the point where they are one game behind the Steelers and gaining confidence. Pittsburgh at Chicago is not to be slept on. Pull it up on your screen. It's going to be good.
Here's the deal. Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears. And as you know, I have tons of connections to the Steelers, tons, from at all levels. That franchise loves him. And the issues in Pittsburgh have been the defense, not the offense. Aaron's had a really good year. I think there's going to be a rally in that team for Aaron. Hey, let's not let Aaron, lose this one. He's used to beating these guys. And I'm going to tell you, Johnny, I'm going with the Steelers. That's probably not a big pick. I'm sure Vegas has them favored. But I'm going with the Steelers on the road in Chicago. I'm not a fan of Caleb at all. I think Ben Johnson is a great offensive coordinator. I don't think he's going to be a great head coach. But I think he's a great offensive mind. But I am so unbelievably not sold on Caleb Williams, and I'm not changing. I'm going to ride Aaron in a win here for the Steelmen.
I was just looking to see if weather looks like an issue as we're taping this and talking about it. It does not. You could say slight disappointment, but folks, it's not quite Thanksgiving. But weather not being an issue, advantage throwing the football, advantage Rodgers. One of the things that Rodgers is doing that is so impressive is he is throwing the ball, getting it out so quick. There really doesn't appear to be any kind of deterioration in his throwing ability and his throwing skills. It's like a master. He and Stafford are rewriting the book as far as how good you can be, how far into your career. And are we going to get to the point where there's a lot of guys that we're penciling in to play at a starting level into their early to mid 40s? Yes, because it wasn't just Brady. And now we've got, wait a minute, Rodgers, and we got Stafford. We're going to see more and more of these. I like the
And don't
Steelers too.
forget, don't forget, there was some Raiders that did that.
Of course, going way back. But now it's almost becoming, the thing is, it's just not a drop off in what Rodgers is doing. And I'm not a huge fan of the guy Aaron Rodgers. Never really have been. But you respect his skills. It's like, oh my goodness. And I don't know what it is with the shaved face or what, but the guy is doing that thing. And if you're anybody, including the Raiders, who maybe had a look at him in years past, you're like, man, why is it all working so well in Pittsburgh when it, didn't work so well in the Jets? And maybe it's because he was allowed to pick too many of the groceries in New York. I don't know. Maybe it's because they didn't have the right folks around him. It's interesting to see. So we're going to have the contrast of a guy at a pure master level, master of his craft, absolute master of the quarterback position, with an against a guy who has some tools to get there, but may or may not have the maturity yet, may or may not have the understanding of everything that's going on the field at the same time. It's going to be interesting, but the thing is, it just matters. This one really matters to the Steelers because of what's going on in Baltimore, and it also matters to matters to the Bears because of that wrinkle that they've got with the tie in Green Bay. Now, if we have time, I don't want to go through exactly everything that's going on here in Atlanta with Michael Penix, but I don't want to reset it and beat the dead horse. But for anybody out there that wasn't sure that what we've talked about here since the day they drafted Penix was such a mismatch, not because Michael Penix is a bad guy or Kirk Cousins is a bad guy, but because the Falcons wasted a pick or wasted an incredible amount of free agency money and then screwed themselves by what they did. Although they drafted well this year, they don't have a first round pick next year. I hope anyone out there that wasn't sure about that now completely sees the light. I thought Michael Penix would have been a great fit for the Raiders, would have been a great fit for the Steelers, would have been a great fit for the Jets, maybe the Steelers most, like somebody that needed a quarterback right away. Because what you have now, everybody knows, the fifth time in 8 years, a season-ending injury. I understand that this guy's body, if it comes back, it's already coming back way beyond its age. I don't know if we're going to see
John,
anything else.
he had 6 knee injuries in college.
Yeah,
And listen, great kid, great kid.
yeah,
You want your daughter to marry this kind of guy, and not because he's a wealthy football player. But it was, I mean, how many times did we talk about on this show? Smart drafting people in the NFL were like, this is a dumb pick. Before the draft, we said it. You
yeah.
stay away from him. How many guys did I tell you? Every person I respected in the NFL who is a proven quarterback person, and you know who those people are, said to me, he's off my board. He's had 6 knee injuries. It's not a matter. He's going to get injured. It's a, and I remember I shared this with you, and I think I said it on the podcast. The night they picked him, one of the most famous person in NFL history texted me, and his exact words were, "That guy just signed his pink slip. Dumbest pick ever." And I
Yeah.
remember there were Raider fans. Oh, we got to get Penix, and I'm like, what are you thinking?
Well, you would have been thinking like, we got to win right now, and maybe that's why you would have thought maybe the Steelers. I mean, somebody that needed it right now, because the problem is, and the reason that he wouldn't have been, I assume, I'm sure somebody would have drafted him probably a second or third day, is because because of this. This is unfortunate, but you got to understand how true it was. And it's not just because we were covering this guy in 2018 when he got hurt and all the other years in the meantime. He throws an unbelievably beautiful ball. It's awesome to see. But this guy was one play away from retirement at the get-go. So anybody taking him, unless they understood that, was going to look like this. And the Falcons, when they told you they were drafting their quarterback of the future with a 26-year-old, it was just like, oh my gosh. So when the Falcons clean the house, which I've already said I expect to happen before the holidays in December, it will not be a surprise. What will be a surprise is how bad that job looks, how much they're going to have to overpay for a coach and a GM, or how bad they're going to get to replace those guys because they got no first round pick next year. They got cap problems, and it's sad because they have such a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball. This is mismanagement 101. We're not picking on Michael Penix, but I just wanted to address that one more time now that the story has come completely full circle. And yes, Raider fans, you should be thanking the Falcons. They very well could have taken Brock Bowers and had nothing to deal with like they're dealing with now. And you have a potential top flight, multi all pro guy with a shot at the Hall of Fame. Part of that thanks goes to the Falcons for taking Michael Penix.
I'm going to say this with all due respect. You know the respect I told you privately off air things about Michael Penix. He just salt of the earth kid. It was such a stupid pick that I'm stunned that the GM is still there. And I don't think he'll ever get another shot at a GM's job. And I love the way Kirk has handled it. Just no. I'll stay. And
Well,
and boy, does he look like a conquering hero. By the way, I looked up something because I wanted to be 100% accurate. The
yeah.
quarterback I was referring to was George Blanda, who retired at 48.
Yeah, that was a total freak show. Like, decades ago. Like, yeah, I mean, I was bananas, bananas that went down. When you look at the Falcons and you look at how they handled Cousins' injuries, and Dr. Chow was talking about that this week, talking about how obvious it was, and talked about, like we talked about, didn't need Tommy John or didn't need a surgery somehow, which is amazing. But it almost looks like the Falcons took advantage of the nature of Kirk Cousins to try to pull this all off. And it was just so flawed from the get-go. Michael Penix, I wish we could do it over for him too, and he would have been drafted by a team that needed him right then and there to try to strike while the iron was hot. It's really too bad. We hope he comes back. We don't know if he will. This is so many. We hope he comes back because he throws a great ball. He was not put in a position to succeed from day one. You want to talk about putting your quarterback behind the eight ball? Draft him where you did. Draft him where you did. You want to destroy the kid's career? Do what the Falcons did. Nobody in this sport will do anything like that for decades. If we're lucky, we will tell you when it happens again because we'll still be doing this. But folks, it may be a while. This is an incredible mismanagement story. It's taken the cake, and the story is going to take off from here. And it's just it's one for the books. Look, I saw the same thing. All you people out there shaking your heads right now. When you saw that draft footage, it looked like Arthur Blank was going to fire the guy on the spot, the GM, if not the coach. I thought he should have done it then. Look at what's happened to this franchise now. Now, we say all this and watch the Falcons go on some remarkable run. It doesn't change the fact they didn't put Michael Penix in a position to succeed to begin with. And now we're not even to Thanksgiving of 2025, and we don't know if we're going to see Michael Penix be able to start again.
Very sad for him. John, appreciate you very much. You're one of the best people in the world. Thanks for talking today. We'll see you all again. Don't forget, go to si.com/NFL/Raiders/on SI.